If there's any video camera that I could easily recommend to anybody, it's gonna be the phone in your pocket. Or in my case, the iPhone. Without having to spend thousands of dollars on a brand new camera that you'll probably never use, let's go ahead and set your iPhone into the great video camera that it really is. So stick around for this video because I'll tell you all the settings that I use that you can copy and use for your own setup. Alright, so to make this more applicable, we're gonna go ahead and set up our iPhone for a talking head video. Just like this. Now I've got mine set up with a tripod, but to make this all work, you gotta get loads of storage on your iPhone. Or at least an SD card and SD card reader. Or at least an SSD. So close your camera app because you're not gonna be needing it for what we're doing. Let's begin by downloading the Blackmagic camera app in the App Store. Don't worry, it's free. Once we got that downloaded, let's start diving into our settings. Now that we have our Blackmagic app opened up, we're gonna change a couple settings first. First, we wanna make sure what kind of lens that we're setting up for. If you have something like the iPhone Pro, iPhone 15 Pro, you can choose several types. You can even choose super wide, but I don't wanna do that. In this case, I kinda wanna take away the ugly background, make it less distracting. So we're gonna select here on the left-hand side lens and select 24. Just about where I wanna be. Less distracting. If anything, we could even push it in for 48 millimeters, depending on how far that we wanna be. You know, just pick and choose. You can experiment which one you like, but for now, let's choose 48 millimeters. The next thing that we wanna choose is one step over, which is FPS, which is frames per second. Typically, if you wanna keep things cinematic, you wanna go ahead and keep it at 24 frames per second. Or in most timelines that you'll be using in editing softwares, you're going to use 23.98. I know, it's not perfect, but that's what we got. Okay, moving on, we got our shutter speed. Typically the rule of thumb is to make sure our shutter speed is twice the amount of the FPS. So what's 23 or 24 times 2? It's 48. So we want 1/48 of a second. Now, as you can see, the image is still bright, but to help compensate for this, we can change the iris if we had a more manual lens. Normally we can compensate with the iris or the aperture, but because this is a fixed lens on this iPhone, you can't help it. You gotta keep at f1.8. So the next best thing is the ISO. When we click on that, let's start off with the lowest one. That looks pretty dark. Let's brighten it up just a little bit. 400, let's stay at 200. And we'll just take some test footage because I can't see what I look like behind. But perhaps I can stick my hand out in front. Yeah, looks like my skin tone's gonna look a little bit too bright. So let's go ahead and lower it down to 100. So that looks about right. Now, one of the last things that we gotta change here is white balance. Now, you could definitely set it to auto, right? And that's okay for beginners. But if you're messing with different kind of lighting situations, you wanna go ahead and have a steady manual white balance so that the colors don't shift on you as it just did when set to auto. So what I'm gonna do is, I know that my white balance in this room when using this particular light is gonna be 4700 Kelvin. Yours may be different. If you're shooting in a tungsten room, where it's more yellow, then you might want to dial it down lower. But right now my skin tone doesn't look too cool, nor does it look too warm. Now if we really want to get the most out of our footage, we would shoot in Apple Log. You can go into your settings, hit record. Your codec could be ProRes 422 LT, just kind of like the smallest size there. But in our case, we're just gonna go ahead and hit H.264. The bit rate, let's just keep it at 36 megabytes per second. That's be fine. We're gonna shoot in 4K. The color space is Apple Log, but for those of us who aren't shooting log, aren't familiar with it, we can go ahead and just choose Rec 709. That's completely fine. If you want to shoot in Apple Log, feel free to do so because I will talk about that later. Okay, and that's pretty much where we're at. Everything else is going to stay pretty much the same. All right, cool. All right, now that's what we're looking at. Our image looks pretty darn good. We can tap that white balance so that nothing's highlighted, and tint, make sure that's 0 because that'll shift between green and magenta. You want to make sure that's 0, especially with our white lights. Before we hit record, one of the first things that we want to make sure is we have our SD card and SD card reader or our SSD plugged into the side. Once we've done that, we're going to make sure that we are saving to that device rather than to our phone, which has limited storage here. So what we're going to do is hit settings, go down to media, and where it says save clips to in app only, we're going to go ahead and select files, and I already have it selected to SanDisk, but in case you don't have your device, you can go ahead to browse. It should pop up here, whatever your SD card or SSD is. You can select this and hit open, or you can go ahead and create a new folder, but I just go ahead and drop everything in here. Back to camera, and now you should see that you have way more room to record. All right, let's hit record for a test shot. If you're looking to improve your iPhone footage, well, look no further. In this video, I'm gonna show you the exact settings that I use so that I can take nice and crisp videos just like this one, okay? Hit stop, go to media, and let's see what it turns out to be. If you're looking to improve your iPhone footage, well, look no further. In this video, I'm gonna show you the exact settings that I use so that I can take nice and crisp videos just like this one. All right, so clearly my head was taken off there, so I'm gonna go ahead and just deal with the tape towards the top, if you even notice it. So we'll take that one more time. I'm just gonna hit record. Make sure that this is the spot that I wanna stand at. I'm not gonna be too fancy. This is just to make sure my framing is correct. You always wanna make sure that you take a test shot when you do these kinds of videos. And the framing is pretty much where I want it to be. I'm in the center. I gave myself some headroom. The background isn't too distracting, although I could remove the microphone there on the side. But for the most part, that is quality video. Now, if you know anything about video, the visuals is only half the equation. The other part is the audio. So let's get to setting up our sound. As you see here, I'm using a microphone attached, and that's recording to my Sony camera right now. But I could also use a wireless microphone receiver and hook it up to my phone. I'm gonna use the DJI mic receiver and hook it up to this USB-C hub. This way I can also use my SSD and microphone at the same time. This time I'm going to record in log. I'm gonna go in settings, record, go to color space. We're gonna choose Apple log, which is HDR. Go down to LUTs and hit display LUT. Okay. One last thing, because we connected our audio receiver from DJI, we're gonna go hit audio source, and make sure wireless microphone RX or receiver is selected. So now when I kind of tap on this mic here, you'll see that the audio signal is responding. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit record for another test shot. Hey guys, this is an audio test because I will be strictly using the microphone from here. Even if I turn around, the audio should still be good. What do you think? You saw that difference? But if you don't have any of these external microphones, that's totally cool. We can just use the onboard mic. That's totally fine. If anything, we'll just add music over on top of it. So that's what it's like to set up our camera for indoor situations. But if you really want to make the footage look better, you gotta set your camera to log and then color grade it later, like I do right over here.